The Reimagine 2020 San Diego International Film Festival. More than 100 films, panels, and live chats with filmmakers in the festival virtual village or studio premieres at the drive-in. San Diego International Film Festival.
How do you define the San Diego Film Festival? What aspects of your festival makes it different from other US-based festivals?
You know, I think where we live is unique, and there's a couple of aspects that really impact our programming. And one of them is we have kind of the largest concentration of American Indian tribes. And so because of that, we're able to bring together the chairman and the chairwomen of these tribes that span the county and come together and program of films that really deal with the issues that they face. So while they all have casinos and they're all competitors in business, they sit on my advisory board and together they talk about what are the issues that the people on the reservation face. So I think that's one really unique aspect. Another one is we actually have the largest horse per person per capita outside of Kentucky in the US. And so because of that, we've got this huge equestrian community that love the topic of horses and equine. And so we program films that talk about the impact of horses across all genres. So I think that makes us unique. Yeah. And then of course, historically, we've been a military town. So we always celebrate the men and women that serve the military. So I think those are three aspects of our programming that really reflect where we live.
Do you have a selection committee? If yes, what is the relationship between you as the artistic director and the committee? Who has the final voice on the film selection process?
I work really closely with our selection committee and our programming teams. And what's interesting, while the final decision does sit with me, I'm really open to hearing their perspective. And when we get down to the final selection, it's always a robust conversation about it, especially over certain films that everybody feels passionate about. And I really listen. And there have been many times that they have changed my mind. They've given me a different perspective, and I have changed my mind on programming.
How many films do you usually watch each year, and how many do you select?
Wow, I'm not sure that I've actually added them up. Anywhere from 700 to 900 maybe. And then we program between 100 and 120.
And how is it essential for you to have a premiere of film?
You know, we always appreciate having a premiere status, but for us, we'd forego that to bring a really strong film to our attendees.
You have introduced a new project named SD Film Fest Channel and another one named San Diego International Short Festival. Can you say a little more about these programs?
Yeah, when we were coming out of when COVID hit and everything changed, and obviously, we couldn't be back in theaters during that time, we launched the ST Film Fest channel because we really wanted to keep our audience together and engaged. And what that allowed us to do is to screen not only a feature film, but also a short, and bring the filmmakers in and do a Q&A. And the platform that we have is very interactive, so people were able to engage with the filmmakers, ask questions. I would moderate the Q&A, and it just helped everybody stay together during a time when we were all locked down in our homes and looking for new things. As far as the Shorts Fest that we did in May, for me, I've always loved that genre, and I always feel like it gets overlooked a little bit during the full festival. And I really wanted to highlight that. And the reason is I think shorts are so understated. It's really that next generation of filmmakers that you see do the shorts. They can take risks in shorts that they can't take in a full-length feature. But what's also interesting, Amir, about it is that it's almost like a bellwether for things that are happening around the world. Like a short film can take on a topic, and you might see those topics as really important global issues, but it might take 18 to 24 months to see them in a full-length feature, but you're seeing them in the shorts early on. And so I think they really kind of have the pulse of what's going on globally. And that's why I really wanted the chance to highlight it. And we were so excited because we programmed over 100 short films. And we had probably between I would say 60 to 70 filmmakers from around the world come in. And that was the one benefit of having a virtual platform, is that filmmakers from around the world, I moderated a panel where, someone was in Johannesburg, someone was in Dubai, someone was in Paris. I mean, it was really interesting to have everybody be able to be there and to talk. So that was one of the benefits of it. And those are the programs that we're doing.
Mhm. And can you say more about the festival virtual village?
Yeah, and this was kind of the extension and the platform that we use. We worked closely with a company called Filmocracy, and it really is incredibly robust in that you go into what's called the virtual village, and you go inside. You can choose the buildings you go into. You can go into theaters, so it's very, very interactive. You can go into a cafe. You choose the table you sit, and as soon as you sit down at the table, up pops, just like a Zoom, up pops everybody that's sitting at the table. So you can talk with them. And then when the panel discussion stops, then it goes dark, just like a ballroom. And then when it's over, everybody pops back up and you can talk about it, and you can go from table to table and interact. So while at that time we couldn't all be together, it gave us kind of something, a touch point to still interact with people and talk about film.
That's it. Very interesting simulation environment. Some festivals take more serious films with international distributor, as they feel they are more strong projects. What is the relationship between your festival and international distributors? How many films, for example, do you pick last year that didn't have any international distributor?
We always have really strong relationships with international distributors, and you're right. Very often they're programming important topics, but in our submissions, we always find a really, really strong track of international films. And actually, I would say on average, the percentage of films that don't have distribution that we program is probably 60 to 70%. So we find strong films, and then we've helped a lot of those films then find distribution.
So in this process, you have a viewer that watch first the film and then suggest films to you, or do you and your teams all look at all the films, the 900 films, and then decide?
You know what? We've got screeners that start watching as soon as they come in, and then they kind of work their way up the pyramid. Each film is watched 3 times, it's rated, it's moved up to the next level, and then it moves to our programming team. And then from the programming team, then I'm also watching as well.
Mhm. Does it make sense to you to select a complex film that might not attract an audience, or do you prefer movies that can secure a good turnout of the audience?
That's a good question. I mean, we always want to find a really strong audience for each of the films, because we want that good experience for a filmmaker to have that kind of experience with the audience and Q&A. But that being said, there have been topics that we've taken on that we felt were really important, no matter how we were able to garner the audience. And one of the topics that we took on very early on was sex trafficking. And that was really before anybody was talking about that issue. And it was tough to get an audience to come and watch it, because it's a very disturbing topic. Most people didn't want to face it. But we continued on like every year, and we just made it a bigger voice and a bigger voice until people finally realize we have to not only face this issue and say that it's real and it's happening, but also we need to find a solution. So, while we always want a really full audience for our filmmakers, we do feel like it's important to take on these topics and to champion them and to get people to think differently and to come and watch them.
Mhm. How is the importance of right content for you? Are you looking for films with a good humanistic or social message? For example, if a filmmaker makes a fascinating, but complicated film on a controversial topic, like for example, if he makes perfect film on defense of capital punishment or Trump anti-immigration policy, for example, will you accept his work?
One of our mission statement is really about the fact that we live in a divided time, and there's so many things that divide us.
Yeah.
But the one thing that can bring us together is kind of that human connection, and film allows for that. So that is definitely reflected in our programming, because if you can show a film and you can walk in someone else's shoes and see something from somebody else's perspective, I think that starts to bring together that communication and that ability to have a conversation. Where's the common ground? So we've worked really hard to try to program not on one side of the aisle or the other, but to take on topics and bring people together to say, what can we find in common? And then once we find that piece in common, then now let's have a conversation and let's try to, bring together a solution, because I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to come together as a people, is if we can find that common ground. And so that really drives our programming, is to find that.
Do you have a quota to meet for films from different regions? For example, you mentioned about 100 for something films that you select. How many of them are from non-American? Are non-Americans? How many of them are from Asian? Do you have kind of quota to meet?
You know what? We don't have a quota. We've always programmed a really strong international, not only international track of features and documentaries, but also shorts. So, I don't quite know what the percentage is, but for us, it's really important to have that representation. I think especially for, US based film audiences, sometimes they're a little averse to reading subtitles. And for me, like, a film festival is really about you need to immerse yourself in other people's culture. You need to understand what's happening around the world. So it's important to program that, and it's important to engage them, because I think, again, that's the only way we're going to feel more like we can really listen to each other, is if we learn about each other.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have any kind of quota. It can be any number.
No.
And about the ratio of a short film to the feature films, is it 50-50, or is it?
It's probably, I would say it's probably 60-40, 60% shorts and 40% features and documentaries.
And in a total, it is about 180 something.
Yeah, between 100 and 120.
Okay. And do you have a specific gender or diversity politics in terms of selecting films? If yes, how does that policy work?
It's interesting. We don't really have a policy, as far as how we've programmed. We've always highlighted women filmmakers. That's something that, since I took over in 2012, has really been an important issue for us, not only to highlight them in terms of programming films, but also we've always had a women in film panel to talk about what are the issues female filmmakers, face, and especially in around funding, the challenges around funding. So, that's always been key. As far as ethnicity and diversity in programming, that too has always been a focus for us. So it's always been important to have that kind of wide representation. And the issue of civil rights, we've tackled that numerous times in our social impact programming, so that's not a topic that's new to us. That's a topic that we've touched on, we explore, we talk about in our panels for many, many years.
Mm-hmm. What is the importance of authorship for you in terms of film selection? If you have a choice to choose a not bad film from a well-known filmmaker, compared to a well-known film, but from non-well-known filmmaker, which one do you prefer?
Well, it's certainly easier to program films with well-known cast and filmmaker. But personally, I would prefer an excellent film with a non-well-known cast or filmmaker. And the reason is I think over time, our film audience, they've come to trust our programming. So they know that they're going to see a film. While they may not know the cast or the filmmaker, they know they're going to see a film that's going to really engage them. They're going to think about, because that's what we want. We want something they're going to think, they're going to have a conversation afterwards and talk about the film, and they're going to remember it for days. So that is my preference, is to have a film that they will think about for a long time.
And in terms of other festivals, is there any kind of a specific festival that you follow for selection of films, or is there a festival that you take more serious his selections of films?
You know what? Our programming team follows all, our film office follows all the festivals. So we're looking at all the major festivals that are the market festivals. And we're also looking at that next tier of festivals, what's coming out of those. So we really study almost all the top festivals and see, you know, what's in their film lineup, open up those conversations with filmmakers. So that's an ongoing thing that we track all year long.
Mhm. And what kind of film festival do you hope to offer this year? Will it be physical or hybrid?
It's going to be a hybrid. Obviously, in the U.S., things have opened up, especially here in San Diego. Things have opened up quite quickly, and so we've expanded the festival to be 10 days. So we'll be mid-October. It will be 10 days. If you've been in San Diego in October, it's actually the most spectacular month of the year.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So virtually, people wanted the chance to be able to see the films over of a longer length of time, and so that's why we've expanded it. In terms of our in-person, this is going to be a bit of a unique year, and for us and the goal of the team when we started to figure out what is going to be our physical footprint, we didn't really feel like we wanted to be in, you know, several multiplex theaters around town. That wasn't what we wanted to do. We wanted to create unique experiences where people could come back together in a way that makes them feel comfortable. So we've chosen 3 locations in San Diego that are kind of iconic in San Diego. And we will do screenings and we will do in-person events in those 3 locations. And it'll be a chance so you won't, so instead of spreading people around and giving them lots of options, we're going to really bring people together in order to watch films, feel good, be safe, but more than that, kind of come back together, because I think that's something we all want, is to have that community. And that was our goal, and that's what we're going to roll out in October.
Okay, it was nice talking to you. I'm just wondering if you have anything that you want to mention at the end of the interview that you feel we didn't talk about.
No, your questions were great, and you know, you covered everything, so fantastic. I've enjoyed talking with you.